Just into our newsroom in the past 30 minutes, ABC News confirms one person is dead from a gas explosion in Lincoln County that is south of Lexington.
So 2 cities to the south are being evacuated now. The Perryville, Kentucky Fire Department says that right now it's looking like a ruptured gas line caused this explosion. So we're going to show you some photos sent to us from our viewer, Tim Davis. He says that the smoke goes for at least 1.5 miles down the road. The Lincoln County Sheriff's Office says that the fire department is evacuating Moreland and Hudsonville, Kentucky. They say that this is just a precaution. There is a shelter set up at a local church if you or someone you know needs help. The Lincoln County Sheriff hopes to have a more detailed update later this morning. We also have a crew headed that way right now.
Yeah, Kirsten, that's right. And so just so you guys know, right where I am at the intersection of 127, Highway 127 and Knoblick Road. So that puts me about 1 mile away from where this rupture actually happened. But I actually just spoke with a man who was right there. We're working to get his interview up so you guys can hear him too. But in the meantime, I'll just tell you, he took this video. He went to help his aunt and uncle who live right there and took this video from their back porch. You can see just the huge plume of fire that was going into the air. He says that it was so hot, it felt like the hairs on his arms were singeing.
All units be advised, we are receiving multiple calls of an explosion of some kind in the area of Dawn's Marathon off of 127.
We've had 5 people transported to the hospital. We have 1 confirmed fatality. We do have folks that are unaccounted for. I won't speculate on where they are or what's happened to them. We hope to find out. That's ongoing.
Thank you for joining us, and we want to get straight to some breaking news this morning. Take a look at this map. We have confirmed from law enforcement officials that several homes are on fire and 1 person is dead after a large gas explosion in Lincoln County. 2 cities are now being evacuated at this time, and we're also hearing from people who live there that say that smoke is reaching over 1 mile. This fire was so big, the smoke was so large that plume is on your weather radar?
Yeah, that's something that we picked up around 1:20, 1:30 this morning, and you can see here, this is a loop of the last few hours, so it pops up every once in a while. There is that area where that explosion occurred south of Junction City, about 15-20 minutes south of Danville for folks familiar with that area. And the wind right now blowing from the north and northwest. So as Daniel mentioned, with that smoke, areas near Stanford and Blue Lick off of 300 and off of Highway 27, might want to be mindful that that is headed towards your area. So if you feel any of those symptoms, might be something to be mindful for.
All units be advised, we are receiving multiple calls of an explosion of...
Tonight on WHAS 11 News at 6, a fireball levels homes. We have team coverage as a neighborhood in central Kentucky wakes up in the middle of the night to a massive natural gas line explosion.
It sounded like a big old jet engine.
A woman is dead and 6 others are hurt. Several homes are destroyed.
Siding is literally melted off of the residents.
The fiery explosion so large it was picked up by National Weather Service radar in Louisville.
The Lord just scooped us up like with a wing and just said, go now, go now, go now. And we listened.
We have been in Lincoln County since the overnight hours. Tonight, we have more on the owners of the pipeline, the company's past explosion history, and the latest from investigators. And here tonight, the massive natural gas pipeline explosion overnight, creating that fireball in Lincoln County of central Kentucky. Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us. I'm Doug Proffitt. Residents running from their homes, trying to escape the flames after being rousted by that blast. It happened just after 1 this morning in a rural Houstonville, Kentucky neighborhood, which is off Route 127. And this is what the area looked like before the blast. And take a look. Now only a crater is left, with nearly 20 acres gone. And that's where we have full team coverage of the explosion tonight. First, we want to check in with our Lisa Hudson, who is live at the scene. Lisa?
Well, Doug, we are here in Lincoln County. A property owner actually allowed us to set up here on his property, which backs up to the blast zone that you can see in behind me.
There's still a lot of unknowns with this situation, but I want to give you guys the closest look of the scene that we have been able to get all day. I'm standing on the edge of this property that backs right up to this area.
The houses that are there are completely destroyed. And as you can imagine, at 1 o'clock in the morning, most people are inside asleep.
Nearly 100 people are back here at New Hope Baptist Church tonight, either looking for help or looking for ways to help. A community meeting in the sanctuary just let out. Emergency management teams were here trying to figure out who needs what to get through the night or longer. And Tyler, I can tell you the stories that I heard today were chilling.
Tonight, we are focusing on Enbridge. That's the company that owns and operates the Texas Eastern Transmission Pipeline. It has a history of incidents we found in Kentucky. One as recently as May. Others are dating back, though, to the 1980s. Tonight, our focus team is reading the report, seeing what went wrong, what's changed since then. Here's investigative journalist Whas McAllister.
We started on the NTSB website and found 14 lengthy recommendations. It mapped out to be dozens of documents citing what happened, what went wrong. We wanted to know what was learned from that, and could an incident that happened on this same pipeline back in May have any connection to the explosion today?
Or some remains have been spotted. We don't know how many.
April of 1985, a pipeline explosion killed 5 people and hurt 3 others. It happened in Beaumont, Kentucky. This video from our WHAS 11 archive.
The fire from the gas explosion swept across the ground for about a half-mile.
14 months later, another explosion only 2 hours away from Beaumont in Lancaster. This time, 3 people are hurt, houses destroyed. A mass evacuation of the area goes into effect to try to save others. After the explosions, the NTSB investigated. Documents detail what they call, quote, deficiencies. In the first incident, that left 5 dead, investigators point to corrosion. In the second explosion, more of the same, except this time documents say that corroded segment was identified 5 months before the incident, but no corrective action was taken. And after the explosions, calls for action from the government, asking owners and operators to develop new testing and training for corrosion to avoid another preventable explosion. So, we have questions. Did the company ever create those new operating procedures? Well, they wouldn't tell us. And when is the last time they inspected the part of the pipeline that exploded today? That's a question they wouldn't answer either. We only know something happened on the pipeline on May 8th, about 4 miles from today's explosion site. Enbridge, the company that owns and operates this pipeline, wouldn't give us any details on that incident either. The only thing they would say to us today is that the NTSB is leading this investigation. For Focus, I'm Whas McAllister.
Focus is our WHAS 11 News Investigatives team as we're going in depth on stories just like this. If you have something you think the Focus team should look into or a tip for them about this incident, you can email them. The address is easy. It's focus@WHAS11.com.
She was just a nice lady.
Chosen not to be seen, but rather heard, Mary Jo Wood reflects on 58-year-old Renee Derringer, the woman who was her neighbor just hours ago.
A hard-working lady. She kept her yard mowed, and you would see her out doing flowers, and she kept a pristine place.
A stranger to some, but a familiar face to others.
I recognized her face. She was one of our customers.
Mary Jo tells us in her final minutes, Derringer tried to escape.
She had called her daughter trying to get help, and she couldn't speak.
Neighbors explaining she managed to get out her front door.
It came up on her caller ID, Mama, and she kept hollering at her, but she couldn't answer.
Residents who had to evacuate their homes for about a week now have been able to return, although we don't know how many have in fact returned. Right here behind me, you can see that there's a police security checkpoint that's set up. Please tell me that is to protect homeowners. They've had it there since the day of the explosion, and they're not letting anyone besides residents and other officials beyond that point.
A closer look at the devastation after a pipeline explosion shook Lincoln County.
I mean, there were houses where people lived now in just ruins. There's nothing but dust left.
The ball of fire seen for miles, something that will be hard to forget for Tish Griffith and her husband Jason. Their hayfield burned and their home not far from the rubble that remains.
It's pretty traumatic. I've never seen flames that high before. I've never felt heat that hot.
But why did it happen and how? Questions NTSB still can't answer.
Take a look at this piece of slate right here. It's about 7 pounds. The Griffiths tell me they're finding it all over their yard. And to put that in perspective, that's about 200 yards away from where they say it was ejected from that explosion site.
Bluegrass 911, where's your emergency?
You can't even step outside. It's too hot.
It like shook our whole house, and we're miles away from it.
My whole sky lit up and my whole house just shook.
We're hearing these 911 calls for the first time.
We've got reports of a large explosion, possibly a plane crash.
Confusion and cries for help.
Oh my gosh, it's huge.
Filling up every line at this emergency dispatch center the morning of August 1st. When a gas line exploded. For the first time, you're seeing the blaze from up above with exclusive drone footage captured by emergency responders minutes after the blast. This is thermal imaging video from a drone. First responders say it shows 3 homes on fire after the gas was shut off. And this is a photo captured just minutes after the blast. Newly obtained 911 calls highlight a need for more resources, like firefighters and water. Authorities say in total, it took over 200 people to get the inferno under control.
Not long before this happened in Lincoln County.
Dude, I cannot believe it.
This happened. Homeowners on Gibbons Lane captured the escaping gas from the Texas Eastern Transmission Compressor Station on May 8th. Cody Young.
It sounded just like a jet engine going off.
Got his own cell video.
Shooting up into the sky.
Young says the plant releases gas routinely for maintenance, but this roaring release was much different and much longer.
It went on for 45 minutes to an hour.
This is how Lisa Derringer's family remembers her, happiest around loved ones. But last month, she took her last breath, running from this.
It's easy to say you're sorry. It's a whole nother step to actually do the things to show you mean it.
Attorney Kyle Finley is representing the Derringer family, suing the company that owns this pipeline, Enbridge, for well over $1 million, he says.
The pipeline we're dealing with was built in the 50s. There's no doubt that something went wrong. Under no circumstances should the hydrocarbons or the gas that is inside these pipelines actually leak.
Saying Enbridge valued profit over people, failing to warn residents living here of danger.
They've had infractions, they've had prior explosions, and it doesn't seem that they've gotten the message that this is not something they can continue to do.
He hopes this lawsuit brings change, forcing Enbridge and companies like it to invest in consistently checking pipelines, shutting down lines before lives are at stake, and overall, pressing federal agencies to raise industry standards.
And not just spending the minimum amount they can spend on safety, but actually taking an active role in preventing this from happening again.